again for everyone donating their time at this front table. And round of applause also for the Con of the North Organization Committee. They're all volunteers. They are making us, giving us this opportunity to be in the space. So round of applause. All right. Next, just thanks to our sponsor, my dad is here in the audience tonight. He's a tax accountant, so if you ever need tax questions, he's in the back there. He's not, he's been around for a while, so he's not good at like the new age of marketing stuff, so I'm trying to help him out with that kind of thing. All right, so
make a game for that.
an accounting game, there's a challenge. The first, I don't know if there is an accounting game, and I wonder why. Okay, so who is Talking Cardboard? Hopefully, I've already interacted with most of you in this room, so maybe this is all redundant, but for anyone I haven't talked with or isn't familiar with who Talking Cardboard is, we're a group of local Minnesotans that make board gaming content now for several years. Typically, we are using YouTube as our main platform. We've experimented with podcasting and just live streaming. TikToks, and we have a Discord group. So I would love to see one person show up in the Discord group because we only have a couple right now. And that's not to scare anyone, that's just like, it's something that's hard to build an audience for, and we'd love to have more people part of that. So one other thing we're doing here at the convention is trying to promote the fact that we have our own Extra Life Fund. And if you're interested in participating, feel free to just subscribe here if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the convention by basically 10 p.m. tomorrow. And if we do that, we'll contribute $200 to our Extra Life Fund. And Dave is giving a great demonstration of how easy it is to scan the QR code and do this. With that said, okay, what is our relationship with Extra Life? Well, we've been doing this now for 7 years. I wanted to embed a actual video screen recording of my TikTok that I did about our 24-hour gaming marathon. And because, again, we're unprofessional, I have Office Libre because I don't have to charge for LibreOffice. And LibreOffice isn't compatible with MP4 file formats. So the best I can do is show an image of the TikTok showing that we did a 24-hour marathon for Extra Life, and we raised over $3,300 last year, and that's thanks to a lot of family and friends of Talking Cardboard, but also just generous people that were watching our stream. So we hope to continue that into this year, and yeah, thanks to now, again, on to more experimentation with trying to do official types of panels. This QR code should take you to a Mentimeter site. So if you have any questions and you don't want to necessarily raise your hand at the end and want to stay anonymous, feel free to use this QR code to ask a question in the Mentimeter site. I think since, again, we're not paying for it or anything, we only have like 40 possible responses. I don't know if we'll get that many, but feel free to use that, and I'll have that QR code showing up on slides as we go. So, without further ado, let's actually hear from the people that you're here for with the very first question, which will be, just tell us about yourself. And I'm going to we'll do the snake draft style here and kind of go back and forth. And then some of these questions are directed to a select audience of the panel. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Dave to answer this first question. Tell us about yourself.
Cool, thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Beck. I am the owner of Paverson Games. We are based actually just over the border in Wisconsin, Menominee, Wisconsin. And I'm a designer of games. I've designed games like Distilled and Luthier, and we publish lots of different games too, usually medium weight, really theme-driven, theme-forward games, so strategy type games too.
Hi everyone, my name is Peter Yang, Minnesota publisher based out of Monticello, really far away, it's an hour, it's fine. But yeah, first-time publisher, really wanting to really focus on the indie scene. I've been a part of doing testing with Floodgate and a bunch of other companies, and it's been really fun just being a part of helping indies try to get to the industry. And so this is a game published, I'm the publisher of Looking for Greatness LLC. And this is a game by Lane Davis, who's been working on it for 8 years, and I said, hey, you know what, let's work together with this. It took us 3 years to publish it, but it's fine. It's here now, we're all happy, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi, thanks everyone. My name is Jess Carrier and I work with Thunderworks Games. We're best known for cartographers, role player, recently Fliptoons, since the spark here in front of me. I am not a designer. I work in marketing for my company. I was hired for marketing and now I am retail and media relations. So my job encompasses the vast swath of marketing, conventions, working with the fantastic people that make board game content that are an integral part of what we do, and which I could not do this job without. For real, these people are amazing. They put a lot of work into making this all look effortless, and I know they say they don't know what they're doing, but it's not true. They put a lot of work into this, and they're amazing for it. So that's me.
Hi everybody. Yeah, Nick, this is the best panel I've been on. So good job for you.
First.
It's that third actually.
Okay.
So hi guys, I'm Kyle McManus. I am one of the co-owners of Diecaster Games. So we're a local Minnesota board game company. We're based out of Robbinsdale. This is our first game, Innkeeper. We've had this for about a year now. It's been out, and you can find it in local Twin Cities game stores. And then we got more on the way. An expansion to this is coming out to Kickstarter here later this year, and our next game, Noir Detective, as well.
Jeremy Gaden, co-owner of Sophisticated Service Games, along with Matt and Ethan. We are based out of Bloomington, so I was very happy when Kyle North moved from Plymouth to Bloomington. My drive is much shorter now. I run operations, so I do manufacturing, finance, logistics, fulfillment, all the fun stuff, and Matt and Ethan get to have the actual fun of doing creative design, artwork, that sort of thing for the company. We did Sci-Fi Dark was our first game, and then I have this is Sprocket Forge. I've tried to grab a copy before I left, but this is Sprocket Forge. We were wrapping a copy up. But Sprocket Forge was our most recent game, and we have Lemonade Wars coming up next after that. Do you want to ask the next question since I have the mic?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I'll be Adam for a second. What one game or experience had the largest impact on your decision to get into the board game industry? And I'll go ahead and answer that right off the bat. Mine was Matt actually introducing me to Terraforming Mars. So I grew up playing board games. It was like Monopoly, Life, Parcheesi, Rummy, that sort of stuff. And then Matt introduced me to modern board games, whatever you want to call them, hobby designer, whatever. A bunch of different names for them. But Terraforming Mars kind of blew my mind. I'm like, I didn't realize you could do this much in a board game. And then ever since then, I've been hooked. So I blame Matt for getting me into this industry. It's all his fault, but I'm glad he did it.
There's really only one answer to this question, and it is betrayal at house on Indiana. Okay? If you have played that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And if you don't. So for me, also grew up playing board games, the kind that we were all familiar with. At some point, I ran across some that were a little bit deeper. The first one that really made an impression on me was Lords of Waterdeep. I spent a lot of my time in my youth pretending I was not a giant nerd reading books about dragons. And so when I discovered that and saw what games could really become, I started going to gaming conventions to find out more about it. And here we are.
I'm a big fan of drafting, so I love Magic the Gathering, play with friends all the time. But no, Seven Wonders. I love Seven Wonders. All the expansions are incredible. I can no longer play just the base game anymore because it's like not enough. But there's just so much to do about just a simple pick and pass game. So fun.
So I am actually also a professor at UW Stout, and so I teach video game design, or I used to. I used to make video games as well, indie games. And then one day, my wife, probably about almost 15 years ago, gave me Dominion. And I kind of laughed, thinking, like, what is this? It's not digital. I don't need to waste my time with this silly kids game. And I had a couple friends over to just, placate her and play it. And I just fell deep, deep, deep down into the rabbit hole and have not looked back since.
So this one's for everyone. Since starting your career in board gaming, have you noticed any major changes in the industry from when you first started that are requiring you to adapt to? And I'll start with Dave over here.
Oh, geez. I hope I'm not going to take the same one from everybody here, but it's tariffs. Especially when you make big, expensive games like me, that is something that has been really different in the last couple of years. Having to reevaluate and think about what you're making, how you're making it. I want to continue to stay true to this idea of kind of rich experiences that we do that do tend to cost a little bit more money, but also realizing that that could get even worse or it could stay the same. So it's a high cost thing that we've had to navigate, especially in the middle of Kickstarters and other things as well. But you know, we got to keep swimming, and we're doing it. So
I think one thing that I know that every major company really like kind of sets their foot into is the phone. I'm kind of glad that things are slowly actually going away. Like people are no longer trying to make like digital exclusives and so on and so forth. They're no more trying to like do all inclusive gaming, like or just one package has all you need to play, etc., etc. And I'm kind of glad that those like phases are coming and going now. Like I know that there was a big, there was a big roll and write phase, a big legacy phase in the industry, and those things have slowly like tapered off to be like, okay, no, just make the best game you can make, and then the people will come. And I'm really excited to see like, hey, you know, that's actually becoming the more popular way to make games. I'm like, yes, please do this. That's way better way of making games.
Yes, tariffs are things. Yeah. So that was going to be one of mine. I'm going to also say that I've seen a lot of expanding demographics in the last 5 years, and it's fantastic. Not just because, so there was a huge spike in changing demographics, I think, when COVID happened. A lot more people suddenly were discovering games. I think a lot more women became more forward in the industry. I think we're seeing a lot more diversity in gender, in race, in ideology. That's something I've definitely noted in the past couple of years that I think is fantastic. And I'll just drop this one and run away. AI.
Oh,
It's
so much.
Oh, okay, I'll let you
was
do
the
it.
other two.
Yeah, I'll just.
We should have just stopped there. We should have stopped at tariffs today. That was those are the two big ones. Yeah, I think Dave handled tariffs pretty well. Jeremy and I will take AI. But yeah, that has been a huge change to the industry, positives and negatives. I think now you can prototype a game probably faster than you ever have before because AI can help you make the cards and do other things like that. But I mean, the downfall of AI art and, you know, I mean, it's a rabbit hole. So that's been a huge landscape shift for the industry in the past couple of years. Jeremy, you want to take some more on that?
Yep, AI art and tariffs reminds you. I'm actually going to go a different one. I'm going to say shipping expenses is one thing, especially over COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So thankfully our Kickstarter was being done after that all happened, but I can't imagine having to go through that. Well, we've already charged backers for shipping costs, and all of a sudden now shipping costs are 3 times or 4 times what they used to be. So now we've just kind of acclimated to that, but shipping has gotten incredibly expensive, and the days of free shipping are largely gone unless you just bake that into the cost of your product. Because you're paying for it either way, either your backers are paying for it separately, or you're just baking it into your product cost and making it cost that much more. So across all these things, tariffs, AI art, shipping, there's been a lot of change in the industry over the past even couple years that caused a lot of us to kind of adapt accordingly. So it's been a fun ride, but it makes things interesting, otherwise they get a little boring sometimes. Next question. For designers, tell us how you decided on the theme for your game. And if you design multiple games, focus on one. Did the business or market potential impact your decision in any way when deciding on the theme of your game? So for us, Stifling Dark was the first game we designed. We self-designed and self-published that game. It was Ethan's idea. He wanted to create a horror board game that brought tension to the table. So thinking of like being in a horror movie and trying to get that feeling in a game. I think we kind of nailed that with the flashlight mechanic and how you have to like, you can only see a certain amount of space in front of you, and the adversary might be just outside your flashlight and run behind you and stab you or grab you through a window. So I think the theming was certainly the core part of that game. You can design with mechanics first or theme first. We chose theme first on that game. I do think the market potential was there because it's not a heavily saturated market. It's a one versus many hidden movement game. There's certainly a lot of them out there, but not as many as other types of games. So certainly theme first, as well as a market potential of just having a more unique kind of experience of a game versus having a more like common theme that's out there.
I'm not even sure I knew what a market was when I first started thinking about this game. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked fantasy, D&D type of settings, and that's kind of where I wanted to root a game. So I was thinking about that initially, and then I just really boiled down into what mechanics do I really like, and I just started to throw stuff at the wall, and I found a game out of it that I really liked. So much past that, I didn't put too much strategy in it at first, because like a lot of people, I think I started out as like a hobbyist really. I was like, hey, can I make my own game? Let's see what this looks like, before it becomes a real thing with art and, you know, logistics and shipping and Kickstarters and everything like that. It just kind of starts as an idea and something they can try.
I'll pass this on by, but we do both.
Yeah, I'll talk about the distinction of design versus development here, where this is Layton Davis's design. When he originally brought it to me, because he'd been working on it for 8 years. There was so much content in here. There was, if you played the game Final Strike, you'll know that's a very simple deck builder, but before that, the monsters could attack you, and you had to block it. There was player elimination in this game, and none of that is currently present. I took the original design, distilled it down.
There's a reason I chose that.
Oh,
name.
it's so good. It's great work. But yeah, so I helped cull it down to its the base mechanics that we really found the fun, and is the strategy of, hey, lining up the Final Strike, strategizing about when should I build, when do I deal damage, and like we found the core fun of the game there, and we took everything out, and now I really have this really good base game, but all that content's still out there, and I'm like, now that we have this, we've taken the mechanics first approach to it, and we're ready to put out the expansions. We want to just work toward the base game and establishing like what the deck builder can be before we start throwing all the things against the wall and see what sticks. So.
Yeah, so my background is actually more in the humanities. Trained in studio art, also ancient history for my majors in undergrad, and then went on to do more with art. And so much of what I do is driven by meaning. I try to, whenever I can, have a meaning behind what I'm deciding, what I'm doing, and it's no different than with these games. With Distilled and with Luthier, the idea I really like to kind of go with is it something that a large number of people out in the public have experienced, and even as tiny sliver, right? Maybe they've had a drink, or maybe more importantly with this game, which by the way I co-designed with someone who had been working on it, and it was very different at the time. Also had been working on it for about 10 years. Many of you probably either did play an instrument in high school, or you know someone that did, or likes classical music, and that's enough, right? So that is why I then think about what is the market really. I really try and do that for Paverson Games, but then I try and allow the themes to drive the decisions towards how I decide to come up with a certain mechanic, and try when I can to have it represented, because I find with really good game design, those rules should be intuitive. And if it's an intuitive rule, oftentimes that means it's something I already know is going on. I know from something else in my life, and I can maybe not know exactly how to play this game, but then it snaps a little bit better for me to be able to understand it.
All right, so next, this is a question just for Jess. Jess, when it comes to marketing board games, what are some of the top considerations you focus on to ensure the commercial success of a game?
I'll try to not make this a very boring answer by asking the audience, if you don't mind, a question in return. How many of you in this room primarily or very often buy your games online, either from Amazon, an online retailer, or even maybe you play on BGA first before you make decide? So a chunk. How many of you like to purchase at game conventions? You most often or very often buy at conventions. Also a similar size chunk, see? How many of you buy from your local game stores? Or direct from publishers? So these are a bunch of different places where people are finding out about their games, where they're choosing to buy their games, where they're discovering them, and where they're seeing not just ads, but people playing games, people showing off games, trusting in their game stores, or even just coming across an ad on Amazon when you're browsing for board games. Amazon is, I think you'll probably agree, kind of a necessary evil for publishing studios these days. Someone is going to sell your games on Amazon, whether it's you as the publisher or someone else. So if you aren't the one doing it, someone else is going to, and they will undercut you. Which is a bummer, but hey, what are you going to do? So you have to kind of start from having a game that is not just presentable, but you have to have good-looking images to share, not just with the ads that you're going to put on these various platforms, but when you're giving it to a distributor and you want the distributor to buy it so that they can sell it to the stores, you have to provide them with enough materials that they think, yes, this looks good, this looks interesting, this looks marketable, yes, we'll buy it and we'll sell it. Then letting game stores know. Then a really crucial part for a lot of studios is events like this, where we can connect with the people who play games, we can talk to you, we can answer questions, we can show you what it's about. When you have a good time at a convention playing a game, you are extremely likely to then talk to someone else about it, or maybe ask about it at your friendly game store, and then they know people are interested in it. So there's a lot of different venues and a lot of things to take into consideration, and it's definitely not as straightforward as just putting a few ads on BGG or selling it to game store retailers direct. A lot of work goes into everything leading up to putting this game in front of people and saying we are ready for a Kickstarter or ready to sell it to distribution to stores.
So now we're going to do another raffle drawing, and this time it's going to be for a copy of Citizens of the Spark, which is from Thunderworks Games, the company Jess works for. So with that said, one real quick, Jess, I'll let you hold the number. Hopefully
It's
this
going to be a
time.
good one, I know it.
Is this a
This
ball?
one jumps. Oh, there's a slot right there.
Okay,
When this one goes
That's
up,
the chosen one.
we are 35201-053.
There we go. Perfect, right there.
Congratulations.
Okay. Next, or Peter. Peter, Final Strike launched on GameFound. From your experience, what are some of the main do's and don'ts you would share with anyone considering crowdfunding their board game?
It's a little bit of a cop-out answer, but the biggest do is to do the research of Googling things. There's a lot of things that I've learned about publishing thing was actually doing a lot of volunteering work with like a bunch of companies, talking to those people directly. I used to help out Chip Theory and a bunch of other local publishers at conventions, and just ask a bunch of questions. So yes, do volunteer work, do research. Big shout out to Stonemeyer. They have an incredible blog that has literally all the details step by step, even like how do I write contracts for an artist to commission art. Like all these little things that I think you need to know about being a publisher, I would highly shout out looking at that blog just to look into it and figure those steps out. So that would be what I would do first before getting onto the whole crowdfunding route, because you know that crowdfunding is a whole thing. It's like a whole month of ads, setting up contacts with board game publishers, reviewers, and like doing all these things as a part of that full crowdfunding campaign. That's a big thing to do. What I would say you don't do is set yourself up for unrealistic expectations. I'm a one-person team. You're like two people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really small. So yes, you should want to go and find reviewers and reach out to everybody, but don't set yourself to be like, oh, I'm gonna get on Shut Up and Sit Down, or I'm gonna try and get on another big Blast Tower. There we go. I'm blanking on the big people, but I'm like, no, those are not realistic expectations. I would reach out to local people. I wouldn't set myself up to such high expectations, because do what you can. And I think that's the biggest advice I could give, because knowing how all the other companies can do with their bigger budgets, and then making those contacts by being a volunteer at conventions. You make those contacts by being out there and doing demos, and that will help you get the outreach that you're looking for finding other gamers and finding other peers. The last don't I would recommend is I would say don't wait forever. If you ever want to work on something, don't wait forever. Start planning now. Start trying. Start developing a game. It's a very big thing in the video game industry to fail faster. I would recommend that. So don't wait. If you want to try and get into publishing, make your prototype. Bring it to the table. Go to Protospiel. Come bring your game up to Colorado North and do some playtesting with other people. There's a lot of gamers here that are really happy to just try something new. So it's worth experimenting and putting yourself out there, because if you don't, you'll never know. So.
All right, so this time we'll do a drawing for Peter's game, Final Strike. And Peter, what is the lucky number?
352-01065.
There we go. Round of applause for the winner.
Thank you. Congrats, man. I wanted it too.
All right, so this is a game for the publishers, designers. I guess when I said publishers, I meant those of you that started up your board game company. Most of you seem to have published your first game design alongside starting a new company. Can you provide any general thoughts or feedback you have about this process, and how did you even get started?
For me, it's a long story. I'll try and keep it short, but basically, again, same thing. I was not looking to design a board game. I was actually on sabbatical doing research with 3D modeling and animation and VR, and it just kind of hit me one night about this idea of how to create a mechanic that's connected to the distillation process. So that's how Distill got started. My company, though, it was really interesting. I essentially kind of put it to fate. I knew that I had two choices. I could either try and continue to work on this and develop it and eventually submit it to publishers in hopes that maybe it would be picked up as a design, or I could perhaps do this myself, bringing it on to crowdfunding. And so I actually put this to my good friend who I also work with at school, Eric Evanson, who is an illustrator and graphic designer, and I said, Eric, and who ended up working on Distill, I said, Eric, if you are ready to go on this journey with me, we're going to crowdfund this, even though I did not want to crowdfund, do Kickstarter. I was so scared and thought that was the last thing. And if he said no, I was going to just take this and submit it as a design. So thankfully, he ended up saying yes, and that's kind of how Paverson Games was born soon after that. And yeah, getting into this, little did I know, you hear it all the time, oh, once you have a company and crowdfund, you're not going to have as much time for design anymore. You're going to be mainly running a business. It is 100% true. And I wouldn't change anything for the world, but it definitely is something that if you're someone out there thinking about that, I encourage you to really consider, do you want to continue to just design, or do you want to have your hands in all the other parts too, and affect maybe the outcome of what that game might look like, knowing there's a lot more you're going to take on too. So some great paths and choices to choose from, but I was lucky that Eric said yes.
Oh man, this is a tough one for me, because I think all the people that know me know that I don't know if I would be a publisher again because of how hard Final Strike was. Like, it's so much work. It's so much work. Like, I was like, oh, I'll make a game, it'll be fine. I'll do a little bit. No, creating a business is not hard. Doing that paperwork, no. You can go like inkfile.com or whatever and just like do some things, build me out a business. That's not the hard part. The hard part is finding the manufacturer, getting the quotes, organizing the container of 1,000 games or more, shipping it from overseas to the United States, finding a warehouse for all of it. Like it's like 3 pounds of games doesn't just fit in a garage. It's a lot. Yeah, it's really hard to say that. I think I wanted to do the game because it's like a childhood dream for a lot of people, right? You make a game, you want to get on the shelves, and you do a thing, and it feels great. But the realistic part of it is that it's a lot of work, and I think to follow up on what you said, is that you decide on if you want to be a business owner. Like, do you want to just create games, or do you want to just start a business? And if the answer is no, I don't want to start a business and start everything, then definitely be on the side of there are many designers who are just designers straight up. They're full-time designers. They take, there's actually something you can look up about negotiating rates about being a publisher, which is in the ballpark of 10% on the very high end. Most publishers sign a contract with a designer, and it's oftentimes 7% or below what profit would be. And those are numbers you can look up on. But that's honestly worth it because you don't do any of the other work. You sign your design over, you let your baby go, and that's okay. But you also no longer have to do any of the work. You don't have to find an artist, you don't have to commission all that work, you don't have to, do the box sizing, do the testing of the insert, organizing how everything fits inside the box. Yeah, see the testing? Yeah, that too. Like, oh, I want to sell this game in Europe. I have to now get a VAT number and all these other things? God. Yeah, there's so much process to that. And granted, doing that all yourself is invaluable insight, because I'm happy I did it so now I can teach other people to do it, which was the intention. But yes, I would say that's the divide, is that do you want to turn this into a business that you have to create all these files for and so on and so forth? Or are you okay letting it go? And you have to make that decision, and it's tough, but realistically, with Final Strike, I'm happy I did it. If I look back at it again, like, how do you would sign it to a publisher? But that's a whole other thing. Like pitching your design to a company is a very separate conversation, but not today.
I'm not going to answer the question, but I will also note that almost every game publisher is a studio of under 10 people.
Yeah.
Most of them are under 5. So yeah, again, if you are not willing to do a ton of work, pitch it to publishers. And our owner also did the same thing, his first major designs with the company, and now laments that he's still designing, but he's doing more developing because there's an entire company to run, and it's a ton. And the people who handle logistics and operations, thank you. Lord loves a good spreadsheet.
Yeah, Dave answered this quite expertly, I think, so I won't beat it to death too much longer, but it really just depends on how much pain you can take. I mean, really, there are only two paths. There is you become a full-on business, or you try to sell your design to a publisher. When I started, I was in a place where I had a prototype of this game, but I was not pushing it that final, it was like 90%. I wasn't pushing it that last 10 because I was like, I have to become a business, I have to put this on Kickstarter, I have to do all this stuff, and it just seemed like a ton. So that's when I brought in my business partner, Leander Lacey, who's got a much better head for business than I do. And like, he played the game, he's like, this is great, when is it gonna be on Kickstarter? I'm like, dude, I don't know how to do Kickstarter. It's like, that seems like a lot of work. I basically have 2 jobs already. Like, do I really need to be doing this? And he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. And I'm like, what do you mean we're gonna do it? You know, and it just kind of started like that. But once you go and do it, I mean, it is a grind. It's definitely a grind. It's a lot of work to put in, but it is fulfilling once it's done. Once you can see these things come to, you know, to come to reality, right? It's great. But yeah, for sure, there's a, you know, give and take. And just like Dave said, I used to design a lot more. And I have so much less time for it now. So, I mean, there's a little give and take. So it's something to think about for sure.
What they said, it is a lot of work. I will say, I'll speak for probably everybody up here and also a lot of local publishers. We're always happy to answer questions too. If you guys are interested in it, like, should I publish? Except, yeah. Hey, we're all open to it. But basically, if you want to design a game, if you like designing games, and that's it, you probably should not go the publishing route and stick to getting your games published. If you like doing business stuff and doing taxes and logistics and customer service and replacements and all that stuff, then sure, go to publishing. I think it is fun, like, it's a lot of learning, and I think Peter nailed it. Like, Stonemeyer has an excellent blog, that's where I learned. There's lots of books out there. You can talk to us or local publishers. There's a lot of resources to help you. Because when we started 5 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing at all, and I've learned it all since then. Some good learning, some bad, but you learn as you go, and that's all you can ask for. So I think I'm glad we did it. We're going to keep doing it, but it is a lot of work versus just getting your game published. That way you can focus on just the design if that's what you like doing. So this one's for me, I think. Yeah, so I'll ask myself a question again. So natural publishers kind of start with their own design, and we bring in designs of others to publish, which is what we did as well. How do you go about identifying what games to publish from other designers? And as a designer, what would I recommend to others to try to get your design published? As I just mentioned, that's the path is either publish yourself or get published. So for us, we play games that we like. I mean, that's what we publish. We tend to index into like more unique mechanics or components. So Siphon Dark has flashlights. Sprocket Porch has physical gears you rotate. Our next one, after Lemonade Wars, Darn Tootin' has folded cards. You use as fans to knock over other cards. So we typically index into more unique but functional components. But we also we play games that we like, and if we like the game and we think it's going to be successful, we publish it. We also only publish local designers, so we find all of our games at Protospiel. Everyone that we signed, which is I think 4 at this point, we found at a Protospiel. If you aren't familiar, those happen twice a year here in Minnesota. They also happen all over the US. It's a designer-focused convention, but also playtesters can attend and just play out prototypes. But you can basically check out a bunch of unpublished games. It's all unpublished games that people are testing. It's a really cool way to see games before they kind of come to life. Like Sprocket Forge was 3D printed with Legos the first time we saw it. So it's all varying forms of completion, but it is a great way to get your game noticed and also just play test it with people, with other people. So as a designer, I would say try to make sure you have a hook. So what makes your game stand apart from the other 1,000+ games that are going to be published this year? How does your game stand out in that crowd? It could be artwork, it could be the mechanics, it could be the theme, it could be a bunch of different things, right? I think about Wingspan, for example, like a board game about birds. Who would have thought about that until Stonemaier did it and made it hugely successful? So having something that sets your game apart, because there are so many designs and there are more designers than there are publishers to publish those designs. So just keep that in mind. You have to have something that sets your game apart and make sure you're showing it. A lot of people are afraid, like, oh, my game's going to get stolen if I share it online or if I go to a convention. That is not the case. It has happened, and people get called out for it immediately, and then they're basically just banned from the scene. So it happens incredibly rarely, and when it happens, it gets shut down very fast. So don't be afraid to share your design. If you don't share it, it is not going to get signed. That's the bottom line. So go to conventions, go to Protospiel, share your game, go to local events, go to open playtest sessions. I'll give a shout out to Design Days that happens here twice a month as well. So Trevor here, I don't think he's here, but I'm sure he'll watch it at some point. Trevor has an awesome community that he runs. We meet up at the Source twice a month, second Saturday and fourth Sunday, something like that at the Source. Great way again to meet other designers, test out your games and do that sort of thing. So just getting involved in the community is the best way to get your game published. You have to meet people to do that. Last thing I'll say is go to conventions and they have speed pitching events. So Origins and Gen Con have like the Unpub Room or First Exposure Hall. Those are also great ways to get your game noticed. And they also sometimes host speed pitches where you can just go and talk to publishers back to back to back, like speed dating but for board games. It's a great way to get your game published. So the main story here is go and get your game shown and show it to people. If you don't do that, your game is never going to get published because you have to be out there and be seen to make that happen. If you're going to raffle off, and it does exist, I promise. You get this. It's a great value.
An IOU of some.
It's print and play.
All right,
Is this a print and play?
The winning number is 35201-064.
Oh, okay.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, we're in the exhibit hall. If you show that, we're going to meet you after sure. I have someone like, you want me to plug on your No, that's
All right, the long question goes to the professor of the room, Dave, back here. Maybe I should have spoken to Dr. Wall.
I'm not a doctor. Not a doctor.
Okay. Your title's distilled in, is it Luthier?
In America, it's luthier.
Luthier. Your titles distilled in Luthier have very detailed themes that clearly carry a decent amount of understanding of the subject matter. From a design standpoint, I imagine this could introduce challenges to keep the integrity of the theme while ensuring gameplay is fun and engaging. First, did you already carry a lot of personal knowledge of the themes of these games, or did you leverage outside knowledge? And then second, can you impart some of your philosophy of how you manage to keep your games honest to the themes, yet still provide engaging gameplay?
Great. Ooh, okay, here we go. Luckily I can cheat and kind of see the question still. You don't have to repeat it. So first to talk a little bit about the themes and my background or knowledge in them. I'll start with distilled and I will tell a little story here. So as I mentioned, I happen to be doing research for something else completely different. I was over in Scotland though when this happened. I was on sabbatical from my university doing research. I had been touring many distilleries, sampling many whiskeys. Playing board games, again, you gotta remember, up until this point, I was really focused mostly on, my own research is on history, as well as 3D modeling, digital technology, virtual reality. I was actually doing augmented reality recreations of historic sites over in Scotland at the time. And again, I love playing board games and love whiskey. And so what happened was, one night, I couldn't sleep, and it was like a light bulb moment about a mechanic that I could have in the game that at the time Distilled was going to be a deck builder. And I was up all night, jotting down notes, truly from about midnight until 7 a.m. And I had come up with essentially the game, and it's actually somewhat close to what it is today, overnight. And then I continued to start playtesting. In that case, I knew a little bit because I had been touring distilleries, but beyond that, not much. And so, like I do, just because of my profession and my love of kind of learning, I dove deep. Originally, it was just going to be about whiskey. Whiskey. And then I quickly realized in my research that we, of course, because many of us think maybe the world revolves around us sometimes in the United States, think something like whiskey is what everybody in the world drinks. No. That is one of the things like baijiu, soju, are some of the drinks that we're not very familiar with. I discovered are the most consumed liquid spirits in the world, and I realized very quickly I needed to change the theme of this game. So through lots of research, I did that, but I also believe and I continue to do a lot of research, reading lots and lots of books. I always do that when I'm designing or even developing and helping publish a game. But I also believe very strongly in hiring other experts as well. So for both Distilled and Luthier, actually for all of our games, a thing we do is we hire a consultant that's an expert in their field. So for Distilled, it was actually a mixologist that does a lot of spirit classes. He's based out in San Francisco. And then for Luthier, it's a little different because with Luthier, as I had mentioned, I had come across this game actually at a protospiel, the very first time I ever brought Distilled into public, which was January 2020, and I played another game there called Luthier. So this time I didn't even know I was going to kickstart Distilled. I played this game by Abe Burson, and it really caught my attention because it was about, the mechanic caught my attention, and it was about repairing instruments and making them in the modern day, so guitars and violins. And then we went our separate ways, but then a couple years later, I kept thinking about this game, and I reached out to him and I said, Abe, what do you think? I know you've been working on this for 10 years. What do you think if I published it and you and I co-design it? I tear it down to its studs and I rebuild it. I redesign it in kind of a vision I had. And he said, thankfully, yes. And so we co-designed this, and I really kind of took the ball and ran with it and turned it into something that was set deep in history. Again, hiring a musicologist for this game, doing a lot of research on my own as well. So I believe very strongly, and if I don't know that subject matter, I'm going to do my darndest to learn as much as I can, because that does, of course, then influence how some of those mechanics develop out. And then to your second question, quickly, how do I impart philosophy and how I manage to keep my games honest to their themes? One thing I kind of just always try and check myself on is I think about, as I'm designing the game or designing mechanics for it, thinking about how a theme could represent that mechanic in a best way. I try and always check myself to say, is this just going to be a simulation? Because I don't want to design a simulation, right? A simulation is something that is great, especially if you really want to truly recreate something. But in Distilled, you can make, for instance, in Distilled, you can make a rum with, let's see, now I'm blanking. I want to keep saying sugarcane. But you can make it with any plant possible in the game. You can break rules of what the real thing is for the game to be gamified and enjoyable. And that's really important. The same with Luthier. It branches three different branches: Baroque, classical, and romantic periods. And you're making stuff for patrons that live in all of those. It's not like we time travel in the game, but you want to give the players an entertaining experience, but also maybe an enriching one as well. So always trying to understand it doesn't need to be as far right as a simulation, nor as far left as a fantastical experience, but something in the middle that still keeps players engaged, but also helps them connect to that theme in some way as well. Okay, so this is a deluxe edition, because that's what I had at my house. I thought, I'm going to bring a deluxe edition. There we go. So here we go, folks. You might need two people to lift this. Okay. It is 35201-052. 352-052.
I did.
Hey, buddy.
Not great.
Not great.
Take this too.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
And then last we have a question for Kyle here. Many designers and publishers start as their game being a side hustle. How do you balance having a day job and trying to design and publish a game? Were there any skills, knowledge from your day job that you were able to leverage for your game / design publishing? Also, describe some of the feelings you experienced when getting to finally see your game in retail, such as the shelves of Games by James, because there you are contributing prizes to, and then also do a great job of shout out to Games by James for carrying local publishers like Diecast or something. There you go.
Yeah, so the key to balance is just not sleeping, okay? Yeah, it's actually very easy. So yeah, this is a side hustle for me, right? We can kind of call it that. It is my side business. I have 2 other jobs. I'm a project manager for a company that I run a creative team for. We do packaging, video shoots, product photography, all which were very helpful when I was doing this, right? All skills that translated really well. And then I'm also a firefighter, which is less good, but still cool. So when I do a firefighter-themed game, that will be the most realistic one that you'll run into. But yeah, I mean, the whole process, right? Of doing this, if you become like a publisher, there's gonna be a lot of things you don't know. You can draw from your personal experiences, like for me, making the packaging, doing some of the marketing assets. That's stuff I know pretty well. So I think our marketing assets are pretty darn good. But when it came to the manufacturing piece, the logistics side of things, that was all things I had to learn because I didn't really have any base in that. So, but when it comes to actually seeing it on a shelf, that was a weird, surreal feeling because it was probably a 3 to 5 year journey getting this from designed play test to on a shelf. And it's the first time we did it. And after we got our Kickstarter fulfilled and we got it all to all the backers and we started getting the local game stores, we have the great pleasure of being in several really awesome game stores in the Twin Cities, like the Fox Den, the Source, Games by James. We have a lot of great partners that carry our game, and we love that. I was starting to get texts from people, and I would just get pictures of my game on a shelf. And I was like, hey, I saw your game here, and I just get this picture every once in a while, and that just kept happening, and I was like, oh man, okay, this is really cool. And then I had a friend of mine's mom, okay, not a gamer person. She was in the Mall of America, right? Games by James in the Mall of America, ran in and saw the game, and she just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So it was really fun and fulfilling to see that come to realities. Yeah. Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay. Well, it's gonna be dishwashers. All right, so we got 35201-056. Oh, there we go. All right, so what's exciting us about the future of the board game hobby? I think there's a lot of exciting things about the hobby right now, and I honestly think Jess kind of touched on it earlier, but I feel like more people are playing board games now than they ever have. And I do think that is a COVID piece, but these conventions are getting bigger. Every event I go to seems to have to go to a bigger space. And if the Twin Cities is any, kind of barometer of the rest of the marketplace out there, we're just filthy with game stores. There are so many. And there are just so many gamers out there to support the hobby, from your board gamers to your RPGers, your Magic the Gathering guys. There's so many of us out there. There's so many places to game, and there's just so many people ready to enjoy the content right now that I just think there's a really bright future for anybody who has an idea, for anybody who wants to like try their hand at this game design or game publishing thing. So I think it's well, not smooth sailing, but I guess there's a lot of wind out there. I don't know how else I can put that. So
I 100% agree with that. More exposure is great. I think also more innovation. I'm still amazed when I go to Pros Field. The number and variety of ideas I see in games is amazing. Like, I see new mechanics I never would have ever dreamed up in a million years. I'm also the creative guys, that's part of it. But I just see amazing games at Pros Field every time I go. So more people playing games, plus more unique mechanics and components, means I think there's more tailwinds than headwinds, I would say, in Twin Cities. I gotcha. I know where you're going. But yeah, I think it's really good for us. I think, again, Minneapolis is really a hotbed, I would say. I haven't lived anywhere else, I guess. But I feel like we have a lot of local designers, publishers, hobbyists, board game stores. We have a very thriving industry here. I think there's certainly other hotbeds as well, but I think being in Minneapolis is a great spot because we have lots of support and conventions to help find these games, and I'm just excited to see how things grow over the next couple of years.
You took a couple of my best answers, but I got okay, all right. So yeah, I am very excited to see the expansion of this industry to what we used to have to call like normal people. Do you know what I'm saying? This has become so mainstream, so broadly accepted, and you guys are all a huge part of that. That you're going out to these events, you're supporting your local game stores, you're showing up at panels, finding out about game design, and then talking to other people about it, and effectively normalizing this lifts the entire hobby. Every content creator that has a new channel, every game designer that self-publishes or new Kickstarter is expanding this whole industry for all of us. So that is fostering this kind of sense of community that is also bringing up more board game stores. We're based out of Madison, Wisconsin, that last I knew had the highest per capita density of game stores in the nation. Last I was just... But the Midwest in particular is, like you said, absolutely rife with designers, with publishers, with gamers. I secretly suspect that there's a little bit of a cultural aspect there. It sure is cold outside for a lot of the year. Yeah, we need things to do inside. Dungeons & Dragons was born in Wisconsin. You cannot underestimate the impact that has had culturally on our area over time. You know, Gen Con being there and spreading out. Midwest is effectively becoming the cultural hub, I think, of the board gaming industry. There are not that many. You'd like to think that big studios are going to be in LA, and there are some, or New York. There are some. Most of them are not. There are a ton of them in this area. So I'm seeing kind of that growing community, creating a new core piece of culture that is branching out to make new types of content, new types of games, and new types of gamers. And that's really, really exciting. And I do hope that as that continues on, we'll all keep supporting each other and make more exciting games for you to play. And write fluff text for things. It's the best. Writing fluff text for games I could just do all the time.
All right. Non-controversial take. I'm excited for indies so much. Video games have been on the up and up for indie publishers. I don't know if you guys have heard of the little game called Expedition 33. Play Obscure, Expedition 33. If you haven't heard of it, go play it. I will buy that game for you. It is so good. I mean, be careful. All right, we'll talk about that. But no, I'm excited for indies so much. Time and again, I've seen so many games make such a huge impact on an audience that the person just wants to make the game that they want to make. They want to make the game that they want to tell a story that they want to tell. They're not worried about all the bureaucracy and all the other red flags that come with any type of AAA video game industry side of things. I am excited so much for any of the new indie publishers that are going to be coming out because their games are going to be out of our realm of recognition. And it starts with you guys. Everyone that's watching at home, anyone that's in this room, make your game. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the indies of tomorrow. I want to play your game, and I can't wait to find out more what you guys are up to.
Quickly, I think mine is actually a little bit focused. Some people have talked about it a little bit, but I'm really excited about the realization that many people around the world are coming to that they don't want to have their face in front of a screen all the time. and they need that as a healthy alternative to be amongst other people and have their brains challenged a little bit with what's on the table. And I think we know that, all of us know that. We've been doing this for a number of years. We love it. We love playing games, but many people are just discovering that this is something that they can do to get away. So I think that's one of them. Another quick one I want to mention, that's the flip side of what I said earlier about tariffs, is I actually think because of that, there are many, and I know I'm looking at Jess, many companies that have realized we need to make really small games. Like, we're going to focus on, and those are more affordable, and those are more approachable, and those are quicker, and sometimes people don't have as much time. So I think us being excited about that and embracing that as well, I think is a neat future for us too, for the community just to continue to grow.
I just wanted to formally allow you to give a round of applause for the panelists. On camera, that's fine, but I'm going to just do a quick pan of the room. I think that's what content creator people are supposed to do. So if you don't want to be on camera, feel free to turn away. But also, if everyone please applaud either way that this was like the best panel you've ever seen, even though it's not the case. So I'm going to go. Okay, so let's go into some of the Q&A here. Feel free to continue sending questions as you wish, but we had some good ones that I just need to shift here. Dave already did actually kind of touch on this, but still a good question. What are your thoughts on designers using themes from cultures not their own and the use of cultural consultants? And I'll let Dave kick this off because he kind of touched on it already.
Yeah, I'll just mention quickly, with cultural consultation, we did this actually with Distill to make sure we were representing dozens of different countries around the world. We wanted to make sure we were respectful of their traditions, their cultures, but also the individuals that we depicted in the game. So we worked with a cultural consultant, James Mendez-Hodes, for that game, and then actually returned to work with him on a game that we're going to be crowdfunding this coming year called Ringo. That's designed by Charlie McCarran, who might or might not be in the audience. And same thing, James Mendez-Hodes actually happens to have his background in mainly just general Asian studies, so that's been really helpful. It's a game based in feudal Japan. So yeah, I believe very strongly in that, being authentic, respectful, as much as possible, and whenever possible.
Yeah, is any...
Anyone else? I don't know.
Actually, I have a quick one.
Yeah, anyone wants to comment?
On a slightly related, well, we are developing a game that we also are going to be needing a consultant for. Some of the aspects of it is a game featuring humans from a specific culture, so that's important to look over. But when we were designing, or rather when we were developing Citizens of the Spark, originally it was set in ancient Rome. It was people. Rather than animals, so we cover it's anthropomorphic animals. And from time to time we do have people say, you know, I wish this was people, not animals. And I understand that makes complete sense, but for example, when you're designing a game that has different characters that do different activities or are represented in certain ways, like how do you choose how to illustrate an outcast? What does that person look like? What is their gender? What is their race? What is their appearance? What does that say about your perceptions of who an outcast is or who should be a politician in a game? So there came a point in consideration where we felt not only because we like animals and we thought it was fun, but also it's a certain respect easier to choose to work with the animal kingdom and anthropomorphic animals rather than risk putting ourselves in a position of having to make those decisions or potentially even incidentally, accidentally portraying something. You never know when someone might perceive something in a way that you, from your perspective, simply never thought of. So we have occasionally taken what some people might call a cop-out, but we like anthropomorphic animals and we think they're fun and pretty cool. But also then we don't have to worry about that.
Thanks guys for those answers. So next question, for theme-based games, how do you decide what theme will translate well to a board game? Kind of touched on some of these questions may have come before some of the answers we had with Q&A, but
I think the easy answer is you can make almost any theme work in a board game if you have the right mechanics. So that's my short answer. But for Stifling Dark specifically, that was a theme first game. Spark Forge is more of a mechanics first game. But I think just making sure that you kind of feel immersed in the theme while you're playing the game. So as a horror game, do I feel scared? Am I worried about whether I get stabbed? Am I worried about escaping alive? So I think just making sure the mechanics line up with that. And I think in our example, the flashlight of being able to only see parts of the map at a time, your flashlight running out of charge, the adversary stalking you from afar, like having the mechanics that tie in with the theme to me is the way to do it. And really based on that, again, Wingspan's an example, like there's so many unique themes that have come out in the last couple of years and I'm sure we'll continue to see over the next couple of years, just having those mechanics tie in, and I think Dave is a great example of this with distilled and root beer, just having it tie in is the key, and once you have that, you can make almost anything work. And I'm sure there's some themes that are just like inappropriate themes, if you will, that probably won't work, but generally speaking, I think it's fairly simple, not simple, but once you have the right mechanics, you can make almost anything work at that point.
I got some really funny Final Strike lore. So Final Strike is an 8-bit game. Your gladiators fighting monsters in an arena. It's all very lighthearted. It's like whimsical 8-bit beat 'em up styles. There was a phase where I thought about making it a My Little Pony game, where friendship is magic. And instead of dealing damage to monsters, you are like it's a grumpy old horse, and you are doing things that make them happy. You're like littling the heart down. You're making their heart grow bigger. But whoever is the tipping point, the person that makes the heart happiest and converts this grumpy person to a happy person, gets extra points for doing so. Gets extra friendship points for doing so. Mechanically, the exact same game. It is literally, it plays out exactly what does it be designed. It would be like, oh, here's a gift. I wrote you a letter. Here's a hug, and so on and so forth, right? All these different things, all these different weapons would become different acts of friendship, and it would still have played the exact same game, but the thing would be completely different. We didn't make that for reasons of just like, hey, obviously we can't get that branding and so on and so forth, but it would have been not the game that we would want to have played every single day. It's not something that maybe we wanted to have demoed every day. It's also something that sits on the shelf of like, maybe that's something I want to do down the road, but the idea is that, hey, is that game theme from the product level something that I want to pour my time into? If this is something I'm super passionate about, is this something you want to put your time into? Is this something that you think that will be good on the shelf? Those are like the bigger business decisions to think about. I played tested a game yesterday where you are sending heroes on an adventure, and the heroes have these qualifications of they are this archetype of hunter, they are this weapon user, their specialty, and none of that metrics mattered, but that is exactly what the theme was, is you're sending heroes on an adventure to get points. Can you draft the right heroes to the right points, so on and so forth, great. And I was like, this is a fun game, but does it have to be that thing? He's like, well, actually, this thing originally was, you were a magical chef making magical sandwiches before I turned it into heroes on an adventure. And I was like, go back to that thing! It's so much better! Why are you, like, there are so many games about sending heroes on adventures. Why are you doing that? And he's like, maybe I will. And I'm like, I'd love to see that other version, because yeah, there are so many games that you send heroes on adventures on. Let me make a magical sandwich.
All right, this one actually specifically for Dave. So, Dave, does video game design feel similar to board game design? What's the same and what's different?
Ooh, that's good. I'm going to put my teacher hat on. No, so yeah, I think there's some similarities. I do think there's quite a lot that's different, but the foundation is the same. I actually get a chance to teach a class to my students that is the introduction to game design, but it's really using mostly analog stuff. We do lots of tabletop and paper and prototyping. So I think that's where it begins. I think one of the biggest differences, without going kind of crazy here, is oftentimes those types of teams, you talked a little bit about indies, but those types of teams, an indie game might be a couple people that have extremely specific skill sets, right? So you usually need someone that really understands from video games. The art side of it, creating the content, creating the assets. You need someone who is doing quite a lot of coding. You need some designers, of course, as well. And you might say, well, that sounds like a developer, an artist, and a designer, Dave. Same thing as a tabletop game. Sure, the titles are the same, but the amount of reliance on years of learned technology or how you approach something in making it, whether it's coding or skills you've developed as an artist, take quite a lot longer. And I would also say, usually, especially if we're thinking about AAA games like we buy in Games by James or AAA games like we buy on Steam. Very completely different. We've got a team of 1,000 to 10,000 people working on a video game sometimes, while we've got a team of just a couple to maybe 10 to 20 max working on a big tabletop game from a big studio. So I think that's the other reason for that, because there's just so many other outside elements that go in. Dealing with that technology and all the bugs, right, that will be involved is something different. Sure, we all play test, but user experience is one thing, but dealing with the technology and how that's not going to work, again, is just much more complex on that digital side as well. So there's a couple things. I could go into greater detail, but just a couple things, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick shout out to Twin City, IGDA Twin Cities.
Yeah.
We have actually a local chapter for the International Game Developers Association. If you are interested in making a video game and so on and so forth, they run a weekly event, like they do a monthly events. A monthly playtest where people bring their early prototypes of video games to go play test it on the street.
And board games.
And board games, yeah. But they also have a monthly developer talk where they bring in a dev to come in, you've spoken there, and it's a really good place to, if you're just wanting to put your foot into the water to learn about video games, that is a great place to get started.
Agreed.
All right, couple left here. Can you speak to game mechanics versus theme/storyline? How do you decide the math and mechanics to align with the story, and are you more passionate about the story or the gameplay?
I'll touch a little bit for Final Strike. Though there's more weird lore about Final Strike. We tried a couple of different stories. I wanted originally to be like a kind of Yu-Gi-Oh thing, where in the world of Final Strike, you decide world politics by playing the game Final Strike, because that makes you proof that you're the best strategist, like how Yu-Gi-Oh does. I'm going to own, what is it, Kyber Corp? I'm going to use Kyber Corp to take over the world, and we decide our things by dueling. And I was like, this is a funny idea for Final Strike, but that didn't happen. But I would say you do something that's fun. Like you try different things, you workshop it with your team, and don't be afraid to not say be bold, because I think one of the other story arcs about Final Strike was that you were going to be an intergalactic hero showing up at a place on a planet, being a Final Striker, as you have the ability of a magic hammer to make weapons while you fight monsters and save a planet. You're like, that's fun. That also didn't happen, but that's okay. Those are just fun stories that you can use for other games at another time. So be creative.
So mechanically, as far as getting the actual mechanics and maths down of what works, what's the value of action A versus action B, charts and graphs and logs are excellent, but at the end of the day, you have got to get so many people to play test your game. So many, and no matter how much math you do, at some point someone's going to figure out some infinite loop or some broken thing that you just didn't know or you didn't think about. Because you've been involved in playing it this whole time. You've been playing with your friends, with your family, with your team, and you never thought about what someone might walk into it cold and just do that kind of breaks your game. So it is absolutely crucial to get in front of as many people who know as little about your game as possible, and then put it in front of them and step back and walk away with a camera or a piece of notepad or some such, to record what they do, what questions make them go back to the rule book, what things make them start doing a lot of crunchy math that gets them confused. So sometimes you're not going to think about those things at all until someone else finds it for you. And it really is a bummer sometimes too. And it's like, oh, we worked so hard on this, so we have to take this back to the drawing board. This whole section, we just didn't know it was going to be like that. A game I was playing earlier, 10 Penny Parks is one that we published a couple years back, doing some expansions for it now. And we published 10 Penny Parks. It has little wooden trees that take up some space on your board. We did not think that after publishing, people would play a game in a style that they would never be removing trees from their board, which is an integral part of the game. It's a thing you do, is you remove these trees from the board. And then once it hit a larger audience, we discovered there were a bunch of people who were like, but I don't want to cut down the trees. I don't want to. I just don't like to. I don't want to do that. I will do everything possible to avoid doing that. So we discovered that we had not included enough trees in the box. We clearly needed to have let a few more cold playtesters do that and to figure out them. So in the new version that we're publishing with the new expansions, we are including more trees. So we live, we learn, even though we know this is a thing that has to be done. So.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. The play test is the answer to that question. That still happens to me. I'll still see people find stuff that I didn't find, like some kind of just small interaction between two things, you know, or a map tweak here and there. But I definitely think, because I think, Jeremy, you were talking about this earlier, you can, like, theme is important, but like those solid mechanics are really your foundation. And you can almost put any like theme and story behind those really solid mechanics. So if you can get those mechanics to be solid, then you can kind of get that theme, you can put that lore in, put that story in, after you have that really solid foundation.
All right, so this next one's pretty straightforward. In your opinion, which board game has the most beautiful artwork and/or design? Any come to mind?
Can't say
We'll say yeah, Calvin and Zero. That's a good.
I will give it up to Wingspan. It really put board games on the map for a lot of people, because it is just a game of pretty bird on paper, right? That's what it does the best at. And truly, it did. We talked about like theme mechanics versus theme first, guys. What do you think? Is Wingspan mechanic? Was Wingspan mechanics versus theme first?
I think it was one of the Born Together.
It was Born Together thing? Okay, I don't know the full story of Wingspan.
I mean, but its mechanics are strong. Its mechanics are strong enough that it can be themed 18 different ways.
Exactly,
So.
yeah. But Wingspan's the one that like I constantly, like I own many versions and many expansions of Wingspan. But it is the game that I look at in terms of board gaming as a hobby. It says, if somebody wants to get into board gaming, I always recommend this if they are ready to dive into it, because it has both the aesthetics of what I think a good game would let somebody learn, appreciate, and then really want to play again. And yeah, that's my favorite.
There are so much beautiful art recently. I am an absolute sucker for that. Kind of related to this, I think, as far as the theme first or mechanics first thing goes, and you were mentioning you can put a theme onto any good design. Occasionally you'll see online someone like, the theme just feels pasted on this game. Yeah. You could, even if the game was born from a conceptual idea that happened kind of simultaneously with the design, at some point, even if that were the case, you could still strip the skin off of any game and put it into something else. You absolutely can. So it's totally possible to even start art first. To take a Stonemaier example, their recent one, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the little hero design
Origin
game.
Story.
Thank you, Origin Story.
Yeah.
Origin Story's art came first. They had art that they had purchased years prior. And for something else, I think intended, or maybe it wasn't intended for something, it just had some cool art that came across his plate. And then later had a design of mechanics, and it was like, wait a minute, I have art, I have a design, swish. So you can retheme with anything, but also I think the art from Everdell is really cute.
Oh yeah, Everdell's really
I'm gonna go with Ivy Studios games like Moon Rollers, Moonrakers. Just the overall, the graphic design of those is amazing. So I was looking through my game list trying to figure out like what I have so many that I like, and those stuck out to me. So things by Ivy Studios, they do a fantastic job of graphic design and just the overall theme and feel of the game.
Yeah, they do have some good stuff. Is it Fractured Skies there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
And a tangent there, if you want there to continue to be great jobs in the game industry, hire artists for your games. Hire real writers, hire real artists, be real writers. So that's how there will still be room for more people in the industry.
Geez, I don't even know where to begin, but I'll tell you that my favorite artist is Vincent Dutrait, who did Luthier, but more specifically because of the fact that he really does not lean as much on technology and does a lot of still hand-drawn, hand-painted work. So I'm always looking for work like that. We keep mentioning Stonemaier games, but Scythe also started that way, right? So from that idea of starting with images, I think it's whenever you can have a game that you feel like the world's been created that you're experiencing, I think is a really powerful thing. I will say one more thing I really like, even though they're kind of bigger games, I love games like Mansions of Madness where it brings me into the theme. There is a digital component, but there's also every time it's something new and interesting too. So it's not always just the quality of the visual art, but also just the experience that you get, right? The rich theme that you're experiencing too.
All right, so the last question we have here is, what's your out there prediction for the next wave of games, like the waves we've seen over the years for dice versions of board games, legacy games, dual versions, trick-taking, et cetera, et cetera. So, any predictions?
It was mentioned just a little bit ago, the current shift is towards small box, for reasons both of logistics and economy. I'm sure every single one of us in this room in the last couple of years has had that thought of like, do I have $100 for this game? And you talk to yourself about, well, how much would I spend on going to the movies? That would probably be $25, and that's only an hour and a half or 2 hours of entertainment. I can justify it with this $100. But when you walk past something and someone goes, this game that you really liked just now is $20. There's a moment where you're like, you know, for $20 I can give this a go. For $100, So we're all shifting that direction, and the cost of producing is becoming higher and higher for us. The margins in this industry are not huge. They're fairly thin to razor thin, depending on what kind of game you're making. So something that has a lot of beautiful components, a lot of custom art, is going to be, depending on how the economy goes, something that is simply sustainable for the market or not. Not everybody is up for backing a $600 Kickstarter. Not everybody has space in their home for 3,000 minis. So right now the trend is heading towards smaller box games that have higher playability. That is also going to be thing, but I think we are going to see a return towards more and more retro themes as the core of our culture is both creating new gamers, and also we are getting we are currently the age of people that have the money to make these purchases. And what speaks to us is not necessarily what speaks to a 16-year-old right now. Something that has a retro vibe that throws us back to the 80s, 90s, early aughts has a little bit more staying power with those of us who have a bank account than those who don't. So there's a little bit of that there.
Something I wanted to add too about something that I see, it's been happening, but someone had mentioned Board Game Arena BGA earlier, and that is something that has just continued to, for me at least, I've seen the fan base for Distilled and other games grow there, where people discover it on something like BGA, Board Game Arena, where you can play games with others around the world on your phone or on your computer, knowing it doesn't replace the real thing, but it allows people to have a taste for what that's like before they might buy it. It's like a try before you buy. But I think that there's probably going to be, even though we still want to have something around the table, I do think there's probably going to be some publishers that start to get creative about how they can connect the two. You know, what's happening on Board Game Arena with what you might be playing with your own copy. I don't know what that will look like exactly, but I think we'll probably see a little bit more of that, just because we're seeing that as drawing new types of gamers, new types of customers to the table as well.
All right, that concludes the Q&A portion. So thanks for everyone that's staying around. One more round of applause. Have a wonderful, safe, and exciting rest of your Con of the North, everyone. So have a good night. Thank you.